Well, thank you for tuning in. You are watching Open Line. We are talking with Clint Kelly, attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm. We've been talking about medical malpractice. We've been talking about medical negligence and all its forms, so many, and a lot of you have been calling in this evening. We're trying to get to as many calls as we can in the remainder of the show. We are going to go back to our lines right now. Emma is on the line with us. Emma, thanks for the patience. And do you have a question or comment for Clint?
Yes, I do. I have osteoporosis, and I also have a bulging disc, and I go to a pain doctor because I have constant pain, and she prescribed for me Opana, and after I had taken it for probably about 6 months, my teeth started falling out. I know it sounds kind of funny, but it's not funny at all. And you know, I mean, she's a nurse practitioner. She's not a doctor, but I mean, I trusted her to tell me if there was something wrong, and she never did. And my teeth just kept falling out. And finally, I went in there and I told her, I said, Rose, I said, I need to know. I said, does this medicine make your teeth fall out? And she said, oh, I have never heard that before. And I didn't know. I told her, I said, well, you need to change me to something else. We came home and went online on Facebook, and there is a ton of people on there that take Opana and their teeth have fallen out, and there was a lawsuit against the maker of Opana. And I want to find an attorney that will make that company get me false teeth so that, you know, I mean, I look horrible, and it's not my fault. I mean, it's from that medicine, and I took it to my primary care doctor, and he said, well, where's the root to this tooth? And I said, all of my teeth that have fallen out, there is no root. They just fall out. So
Emma, why don't you call my office in the morning? I'll look into whether or not there's been what we call multi-district litigation set up, a product liability litigation for the maker of this drug called Opana. I have never heard of this drug. Having your teeth fall out is anything but funny, and you might have a long road ahead of you if you're going to have dentures or other type of major restorative dental care. But if you call and ask to speak to Nurse Kathy, I'll give this a look and see if I can help you, and if I can't help you, I'll refer you to someone who can.
And Emma, as always, in case you didn't hear, we always like to make sure that people understand when you call Clint's office, there is no charge for that call. When you talk to Nurse Kathy, that is one of the great services that they provide. And of course, you saw that number on your screen. It was 615-824-3703. So sorry you're having those problems, Emma, but make sure you give Clint's office and Nurse Kathy a call in the morning. We are going to go back to our lines right now. Deborah is on the line with us. Deborah, thanks for joining us this evening. Do you have a question or a comment for Clint?
Yes, thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely.
In September of 2015, I was seeing a nurse practitioner that I'd seen for probably 3 years, and I had a UTI that lasted about 4 weeks. Following that, I had a bladder infection. I just knew something was going on with me, and they said they did a CAT scan, X-ray. They said there was no kidney stones evident, and it was just some medicine they'd give me, antibiotics to take. And about 3 weeks later, I ended up in ER at the hospital, local hospital, and I had a size 8 kidney stone lodged in the right tube, and it was so infected it was sepsis. And I literally don't remember anything for 7 days. I was in ICU for 5 days, and I actually just did a full code. I died, and thank God there was a certain doctor there that took care of it. But I stayed in the hospital for 12 days and didn't know anyone for 7 days. So they misdiagnosed it, and so I don't know what kind of a situation I would have there. So I'm just blessed to be here, and I just wanted to know if there was any cause of action I could do about this.
Yeah, Deborah, when did you suspect for the first time that this stone had been misdiagnosed or missed?
Well, I had been going to this doctor for several years, like I said, and I went in September and developed a UTI. I was 62, never had one, and then thought it was over at 3 weeks later, and then it came back. And then a bladder infection followed that, which was odd, and I knew there was something, not right. And so I had them, they did an x-ray, and then they did a CAT scan, and they found no kidney stones. And then I ended up 3 weeks later in the ER, and, like I said before, this is what happened. So they just didn't find it. And through a CAT scan, it should have been able to have been located. And so I don't know. I mean, if I have a reason to suspect anything, I do, because I wouldn't have ended up in ER if they had actually caught it. And this doctor that took care of me said that it was so infected, it didn't just happen, it had been there for a long time and developed sepsis on it. So it was very serious. And, my whole family was so concerned, and I was on the brink of death at one point, and then I did actually full code. So I was just blessed to be brought back, And I just feel like that they should have picked up on this during the CAT scan. They should have seen that. They told me it was constipation, and I didn't understand that. So as it turned out, it was a very older kidney stone that had taken its time to get so infected. It was sepsis.
Yeah, the question here is going to be whether or not you knew or suspected this more than a year ago. It sounds like you did. It sounds like that this was determined in the fall of 2015, and we're more than 1 year out of that. So it sounds to me like probably your case would be time barred. I hope I'm wrong about that, but that's what it sounds like based on the fact pattern that you gave me. That's why it's so important to call as soon as you suspect something like this has happened, because if that year goes by, you're never going to get your day in court.
And again, for people just tuning in, we don't have a lot of time left, but I always like to emphasize there is that 1 year statute of limitations.
Correct.
But again, to kind of explain the parameters of that.
It's 1 year from the date that you suspect that there's been a medical mistake that injured you. Like, for example, what Deborah's saying, when Deborah learned that this stone was found on the CT scan, at that point, a reasonable person would conclude, hey, this was missed. And so the clock started ticking, in my judgment, on that particular day when she learned that that was on the CT scan. She would have 1 year to file pre-suit notice at that point, because she's basically on notice herself. Hey, somebody missed this.
Right. In the remaining time we have, I wanted to ask you about a situation that I've encountered with a friend. Friend went to the dentist. Dentist was a friend of his. They were having some work done. They, of course, deadened the area that they needed to work on. And the unfortunate thing was they ended up losing hearing in their ear. They didn't want to sue because that dentist was a friend, take it to court. But what would your advice be? Because now this friend has no hearing in his left ear.
Well, in that situation, what I would counsel anyone to do is just pick up the phone and call and get a consultation. Just because you get a consultation, which, by the way, is always free, but client pays nothing unless there's a settlement or recovery. But just because you get a consultation doesn't mean you're going to go forward and file a lawsuit. You may get a consultation and say, okay, now I know what my rights are. Now I can make the decision whether or not I want to go forward with the case, assuming it has merit. Losing your hearing is a big deal. And even if it's the product of a dental procedure, that's one of those situations I would counsel someone, if it indeed is a negligent act, seems like it would be, to go forward with a lawsuit, because losing your hearing, your eyesight, those are things that you depend on for your livelihood, and particularly as you get older.
It really makes a difference. And again, if you're just tuning in, that's why it is so important. Like to emphasize this a number of times throughout the show, is the call cost nothing. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will give you the number to the Kelly firm. You can call and ask to speak to Nurse Kelly. She can counsel, Nurse Kathy. She can counsel you on that and kind of go from there. So that's always our first kind of recommendation. We're going to take a break. We'll wrap things up when we come back. So come on back with us here on Open Line.